I would say as a society, we've normalized all of this, like doing more, whether it's more in our careers, more with our families, more kids' sports, more activities. And then a lot of us are dealing with aging parents. So our plates are full. And then when you look at and you layer in the constant noise, right? Our phones, our emails, voicemails, texts, and you look at like we're plugged in most, if not all of the day. I think that I have tremendous faith in what's in the unseen. And if we ask and we believe, it is given. I don't believe that see and you believe. I believe and you will see. So people feel the desperation of somebody sitting across the table. I just need another role, right? I just need, and you really can feel that in an interview.
Today, I'm talking to Erin Collins. She's a founding partner at an executive recruiting and talent advisory firm focused on asset management. And she works with senior leaders on everything from hiring to leadership coaching. This is a conversation about control, about letting go of it, and about what intentionality actually looks like when everything around you feels like it's on fire. Welcome to the Midlife Remix.
Thanks, Stephen, for having me. It's an honor to be here and talk to you about, have a discussion on intention, which I know you and I both share, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for your practice and what you've built.
When we talked earlier, you mentioned being made the parent at a very young age and in your own childhood. And what did that teach you about how to move through the world, and what did it cost you, at the same time?
I grew up in a very chaotic environment where there were elements that were consistently unpredictable and volatile. And I think when you grow up in that environment, you're always looking over your shoulder. So when you're in this state of basically hypervigilance and you become used to operating at this fast-paced, hypervigilant environment. And in business, I think that can be helpful. I think you can handle a lot more. At the same time, you forget to pause and to ground. And that definitely carried over into my adulthood more than I realized. And it wasn't until, I had mentors like yourself that pushed me to reflect. And I began to really understand how much my environment had shaped my operating system and constantly moving, reacting, and living in this constant state of chaos. And I think today my life is full. I've learned to take time for myself and really reflect is something that is new to me because I didn't do that growing up. And it's not exactly the way I wanted to live. And so through people like you and that have helped me kind of shift that mindset and my intentionality.
You adopted 3 children. At the same time, you started a new business. What happened there? Why did you have to do all of these things at once?
I think it's been the story of my life. There's always just multiple things that are going on at once. So at that juncture, we were also building a house and I was designing it. So I'd couple that into bringing 3 special needs children home from the Philippines. It was chaos, absolute chaos. And my husband's used to it too. So we tackled it together. But I think looking back, and at that time, I would say I was very much ungrounded. I was still living in that state of chaos, and that was 11 years ago. And so I look back and I think, gosh, I wish I had the tools that I do today, 11 years ago, but hindsight's 2020.
So do you think that these challenges that you took on, maybe deliberate or not deliberate, they taught you or gave you the tools that you have now to be the person that you're now?
When I started HCA 11 years ago, I came in with this mentality where it was like more conversations, more clients, and it felt chaotic. And I don't think I ever really learned to take a step back and really be intentional with what types of clients did I want to work with? Who did I want to work with? How did I want to feel at the end of my day? How do I want my clients to feel? Like, what was in alignment for me? And I never really asked those questions for the first few years in until I really basically had gotten some great mentors to help me really define what that looked like. And then not only defining it, but I think in terms of I've really learned to visualize and to really feel into that energy. So become clear with that intentionality and then live as if it had already happened. And that has been tremendously beneficial. And you like when you hear like Michael Phelps, right before he ever hops into the pool, he's done that swim 100 times. And that for me, like, is taking a morning walk and putting right my earbuds in my ears and just living that through and feeling that through and kind of controlling my day from the get-go.
You talked about the difference between operating from pressure or from fear versus operating from possibility or love. What's the difference there, and how are you able to do that?
So I would say as a society, we've normalized all of this, like doing more, whether it's more in our careers, more with our families, more kids' sports, more activities. And then a lot of us are dealing with aging parents. So our plates are full. And then when you look at and you layer in the constant noise, our phones, our emails, voicemails, texts, and you look at like we're plugged in most, if not all of the day. I think possibility would be stepping back and being and living intentionally and creating the space to breathe and to reflect on what it is that we're doing and how we're showing up. And I had some really good mentors at one point, and one of them had asked me, like, he had said to me, and it irritated me at the time. Don't get me wrong. He said, "What do you control? What you get or what you bring?" And I think that really rings true, is to take a step back and to ground yourself and take some time. And for me, that's in the morning and really helping intention set for the day. Like, what is that? What intention am I bringing for the day? And oftentimes, like, it can just be a couple of words. It could be like grounded curiosity, or it could be listening with intent, or it could be just positive joy, or it could be a number of things. But setting that intention and living that and taking control of, this is what I'm bringing to today. And it could be today, it could be my partner and I do this in meetings too. So before we go into a meeting, what is the intention that we want to bring? What is it? What's the highest good here for us, for all involved? And then what's the best possible outcome? Like, what does that look like for us all? So that we're going into that meeting, we have a clear vision with what that looks like. So we don't always succeed in trying to carve out time, but we try. And it just changes the energy that we find like in the meeting and with others that we interact with.
And so, how were you able to learn to let go of control? Because I think that fear drives us to control the things that we can't control, or to grasp on or hold on to things that we can't control. How have you been able to do that?
I would say control is one of my biggest challenges. And it has to basically dates to when I grew up. So because there was such a lack of control, I wanted more of it and I try to grasp for it. And I think through around the time of COVID, so about 2020, I had come across Gabby Bernstein's 21-day manifesting challenge. And it really resonated with me. And I think becoming really deliberate and intentional with what I wanted, how I showed up, and creating a daily practice. For me, like, I'm all over the place. So I needed that structure that she provided, 10 minutes a day, to really ground myself with a practice in the morning that carried me through, but also kept my energy in alignment without me scattering, like just being absolutely scattered.
And so, what happens if you don't get what you want?
I've come to the belief, which hasn't always been true, that there's a reason. So when one door closes, another one will open. And I think that's been a tremendous amount of faith too, that things don't always go according to plan, and that's okay. But there's a lesson to be learned from it. And there's been a number of times, which I think is so fascinating and great reminders, where maybe something didn't go the way that I had planned. There was a time a number of years ago where I had a client that I don't really ever pitch in from business. I never really have. I pitched twice in 11 years. They'd asked me to pitch, and I had gone in and like I pitched and I lost, and I was torn up at that time juncture. I mean, how could I lose that? I mean, what was it? Was my space, my specialty? Like, how did I lose that? But what was fascinating is about a week later, I had the opportunity for something that I really didn't see coming. So it was a better opportunity. It was a client that I absolutely aligned and loved. And the opportunity was was to do and to build and construct, not only from a consulting standpoint, but from a recruiting standpoint. And it was the area that I was passionate about and loved. So one door closed, but another door opened. And I think it's just a great example of there's reasons behind things. We don't always know at the time, but work end up working out for a reason.
So where does that faith come from?
I believe that we're always being guided and we may not see it, but we truly are. And I have come to believe in basically the universe is always supporting us. And I think one of the things that I've learned over the years is you can ask for signs if you're on the right path. And I've learned to do that. So there have been times where, like, I'll give you an example, when I wanted a business partner to join me. And I had been operating on my own. And I really wasn't sure whether it was the right thing for me. And I had asked, all right, so if it's meant to be like this particular individual, then show me a white butterfly. Okay. When am I going to ever see one of those? So lo and behold, a day went by and two white butterflies were outside of my fence. And then I thought, oh, that's like, this is a crock. So, but the next day I went outside and I had one land on my lunch plate. Okay. This is just has to be a coincidence, right? This just has to be a coincidence. So I asked again, I was like, all right, show me a bunch of white butterflies. So I go for a walk and my husband's standing next to me and we're walking. It's 1 in the afternoon. And he looks behind me and he asks me, he's like, what did you ask for? And I said, why? And he goes, look behind you. And it was a swarm of white butterflies following me down the street. I think that I have tremendous faith in what's in the unseen. And if we ask and we believe, it is given. I don't believe that see and you believe. I believe and you will see.
I think that that's very important. I think that, we can't really rationalize ourselves out of fear. Yeah, and that's why I think faith is very important because if you don't have faith, you always will always go back to fear because it's so ingrained, and I think a lot of people are struggling with that. A lot of my client, I think every one of my clients in some way or form is driven primarily out of fear. And they're trying to disentangle that, but it is, yeah, it's a challenge for us all humans.
I had a mentor that really helped me come up with a mantra when I felt that. And the mantra was things are always working out for me. And so when I feel myself going that direction, I remember that it helps me kind of deactivate my nervous system. That and I think the breath practice of 5 inhales, hold for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds, and do it for a minute or two helps shift your nervous system and your energy. And I think that has a big part in kind of helping ground as well.
Yeah, breath work is very important. And my mantra is similar. I remind myself daily that life doesn't happen to me, but it happens for me.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so I try to reframe things always as that because otherwise, it's very easy for you to fall into despair. And then yes, the breath definitely helps because it lowers your cortisol in your body. There's science behind that. And then also what the work that I've been doing a lot with my clients is to get them to go into their body and feel
Mhm.
their fear in their body. Just to sit with that fear and actually accept that and not try to remove it so that they're not always going into their head and then going into what I call the washing machine, right? Where it's like just like over and over and over. You're not actually solving anything. You're just like in this fear spiral. But then really knowing that, oh, okay, this is the feeling in my body when I have fear and it's okay. I'm safe. It's much easier than to let that pass. But it is definitely a challenge that a lot of us are facing. In your book, you write, if that energy drives you next move, you don't choose your future. You simply escape your present. What were you escaping when you were thinking about that? When you wrote that?
So if you aren't grounded and you're not in your body and you show up to interview or to an opportunity, people feel it. They feel that from the moment that you walk in the room. So as prepared as you could be, your energy enters the room before you do. And so whether it's breath practices or feeling kind of what's going on in your body, like really taking time to get into your point, get in your body.
I think it has to do with being aligned with your values, because if you're aligned with your values, then you're authentic and you don't have to pretend to be something that you're not. And when you don't have to pretend to be somebody that you're not, then that translates into vibrations that the other person can feel. So somebody, I forget, said this to me is um, you don't change the world with ideas, you change the world with vibrations.
There's a off of that in that same chapter, one of the things I focused on was I think that when you are able to really ground yourself and you're in tune with the energy you bring, you can start seeing yourself as somebody who, like if you're interviewing, somebody who's already on that team. You're able to put yourself as you're already working there and you're already able to navigate those complexities. You're asking questions like that you're really a part of, you understand them. And when that happens, if you're able to do that, it's fascinating that if you're really able to hone in on that, what comes out of that is I've had managers and leaders come to me and say, that person, the way that they showed up in that room, I want that. I want that on my team. This may not be the right role, but I want that person. It's somehow in my organization. And it just speaks to energy matters.
You talk about there's a difference between an intention and a wish. What's the difference? Because I think that some listeners might be, well, intentions, like you can't just think something that's going to happen and then it's going to happen. And so I think that they're thinking about a wish, but I would like to hear from you what.
Believe that I hear a lot of people say, I wish I had a better relationship with my boss. I wish I had a good job. I wish I was getting compensated more than I am. And I think that's all great and fine, but I think it's passive. Where I think an intention is deliberate. So, and with that comes ownership. So, all right, you want a better relationship with your boss. Like, what are you doing to own that today? What are you doing to make that happen? Or if you want to be compensated for what for your worth, what are you doing to articulate your value? Or if you are wanting a better relationship with your team, like what are you doing to take those steps today to make that happen? It's not sitting back, but it's owning your part in the overall process and being deliberate about it.
With intentions too, is the way I work with my clients is that you align with your values, and then you, based on your values, then you figure out the life that you want to live, and then you learn the habits that you need to create to become that person. Right? So that those are actually actions that you have to take. So it's not that you're just waiting for something to happen, but you are working very hard on those things. But then the most important part is that you are rewiring your brain. And I think this is where you say you believe that you already are there, that you're rewiring your brain, that you actually are that person already, because you're proving to yourself on a day-to-day basis that you are doing those things already. You also write that with intention, it's easy to chase momentum instead of meaning. So you've done that, and what does it teach you?
Yeah. So I would say when I pick up momentum, I just keep going like many. And the challenge is that I don't sometimes take a step back and go, wait a second, is this what I want to be doing? Is this in alignment? I just personally, I believe by doing that, we let our lives and our days control us, not the other way around. So, and I've had plenty of those times in my life, but I really do try to, um, as a daily practice, to really hone in on, take a step back. Is this in alignment with, to your point, like in what you just outlined, is this in alignment with my values and the things that are important to me? And if it's not, then I picked up the wrong momentum. So time to take a step back and reevaluate.
Yeah. I think that's very, very powerful. The people talk about the full body yes, and I think that aligns with that. But I think that there are two parts to that. So the full body yes is your body saying yes, right? You can feel it. Is this the right thing? But then sometimes the brain says, yeah, but that doesn't really make sense. And then what I do is I go to my values and say, is this aligned with my values? And if it is, then I go for it. If it's not, then I won't go for it. But then also, if my body says, I really want to do this, but it's not aligned with my values, then I also won't do it. Because sometimes you want to do things because you're used to doing them, or it's easy, or for whatever other motivation that we subconsciously have that might not be serving us anymore. And so I like to always use those both elements to decide on what to do rather than just listen to one or the other. Because if you have a continuous practice where you are more in tune with your body, which most people are not, because in our society, we mostly value everything up here. The practice really is around getting into your body and feeling what you're feeling, and knowing what you're feeling. But then also the practice is to continuously reevaluate what your values are, as you said, so that you're not driven by other people's priorities, but that you're driven by your own priorities. Because most of us, I think, we're doing things that we're expected to do
Hmm.
rather than the things that we truly want to do.
I think sometimes saying no is the most respectable thing you can do and honors yourself. And I think for so many years, I don't know about you, Stephen, but like for so many years, I was so concerned with the fallout from saying no and what people would think. And I think the older that I've gotten, the more I think to myself, no is the most respect. It's respecting the other person, it's respecting me in terms of I'm either committed or I'm not. And it's okay not to commit, is to your point. Like, is what I'm being asked to do, or what the opportunities that come is in alignment with my body, my values? What do I feel? And I've noticed something too is the outcome when I'm fully bought in, my mind, my soul, my body, when it's all bought in, the outcome is amazing. If I'm only part, if I'm just saying yes because I'm worried what the other person's reaction is going to be, the result isn't going to be as strong because I'm half in, half out. Like I'll do it, but probably not to the best, most capable way of doing it.
So what kind of things do you say no to now that you used to say yes to?
Lately, I have been asked to serve on some nonprofit boards, and I'm honored and I love the mission. But at the same time, can I really commit to the time full heartedly? And am I 100% bought in to basically sacrificing sleep, exercise, probably some of my travel? Like, am I bought in? The answer is no, I'm not. And so there's one. There are certain circumstances where, just given my role, people are like, hey, can you talk to this person or that person? I must get on a weekly basis sometimes 50 people reaching out, being like, hey, can we just have an introductory conversation? And it's like, I used to say yes to all those and just be driven into the ground. But at what sacrifice? Like, so I was up until midnight and got up at 4:30 a.m. And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. I think that's it's really important, and so when we're aligned with our values, we can say no, because if it's not aligned with our values, we won't do it.
And if people get irritated, which some of them have, quite frankly, and I think that one of the best quotes that I heard was, if you don't get rid of the wrong people, you'll never make room for the right people. And that really resonates with me.
So what would be your advice to people? And let's say they've been looking for a really long time and they're getting really desperate and they want a job, and they're going into an interview and they have that feeling that you're talking about, but they really need the job.
And people feel that. So people feel the desperation of somebody sitting across the table. I just need another role, right? So to your point, like, I just need another role. I just need to get out of where my current circumstance. And you really can feel that in an interview. So I have always said to people, really become deliberate with, what is it that you're wanting? What is it? Sometimes if they've had a negative experience with their current firm, what is it that you don't like? Because that will help clarify what it is that you do want. So take a step back and really define what that is. Then envision yourself in that new role. What is it? And become deliberate and write it down. Write exactly what is it that you're wanting? How do you want to feel? What kind of people do you want to work with? What's the goal? And carry that energy into an interview, one of from a place of power, not desperation. If you are deliberate with what you want and you align yourself, opportunities will find you time and time again. And I've seen that even like, I guess here's a perfect example. There are two people currently at a firm that I've known very, very well for a very long time. And one of them, the firm has gone through a lot of change. And the two people are in the same role and they both wanted to look for something else. One of them is basically has taken that experience and become very deliberate with what it is that they want. What types of people, what kind of role, where they want to be, what the client coverage is. I mean, really got granular about it and kept this high vibe. I'll find it. When it's the right time, I'll find it. Lo and behold, it took a couple months. Person doubled. I didn't end up placing this person, but it's a good friend of mine. Person got 2.5 times where they were at. Amazing, amazing for them. Absolutely incredible. The other person is still there because they haven't been able to get out of their own way. They're miserable. They haven't been able to define what it is that they want. They're carrying this energy of defeat, to basically defeatedness. They watch this other person leave now and get an opportunity, but they're still there. So it's defeat. And when they're interfacing, people feel that. And so I think that's a great example of two different, same thing, but just different ways of looking at it. And I see that time and time again play out.
It's that fear, that underlying fear. They say that, that animals can smell your fear. And I think that humans can too. We just can't put it in words, but we definitely do. Also,
When you become really deliberate with what it is that you want and carry that energy, there were a number of years. I think I was for 4 years, the business doubled every single year. And that was through intentionality and through your point of the right people were finding me. And it was its own selection.
if someone who's listening is really in the thick of it, as you were, chaos everywhere, feeling like they have to keep doing more and just staying afloat, what would you want them to do, or what do you want them to know?
Good question. I would say the first is take some time in the morning to set your day. And it just take some time to live out your day in advance before you do anything. And maybe say, like, today is a great day. And then really, it could be some days I write it out. Like, what do I want today to look like? Other days, it's intention setting at the top of my paper. I'm old school. So I write down my to-do list for the day on an actual, like in a book. So I'll circle my intention. But take control of your day and your life before your life takes control of you. That's number one. I would say to take some time to, when you're asked to do something, you don't have to respond right away. I think we've come to this thing where people, you need a response, right? I mean, we've got this whole world of immediate gratification and immediate answers. Where did that come from? So sometimes we need to tell ourselves it's okay to take a day or say, hey, or a week or whatever it is, like just set the expectation. I'll get back to you. I need some time to think about it. I'll get back to you in a day. I'll go a week. Like I just need some time to just think things through. I think those are two big things that are life-changing.
Well, you've obviously integrated that into your life, and you've created for yourself a great life and a great business. It's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing your insights with me today.
Thanks, Stephen, for having me. It's an honor to be here.